Hey there, Internet. It's Chappie with Flying C Woodworks. Just wanted to do a quick review of my Field Expedient DIY router sled setup that I built about a year and a half ago. I initially built it for the cedar dining table project that I featured in a previous video, but I've used it for several projects since then. It really is an extremely useful tool. The most recent to those projects are the hickory cookies that I've been flattening and turning into, well, I've got one coffee table complete, one that's in the works, and then a challenge coin rack that's in the works as well. But it really is an extremely useful tool for those of you out there that are like me, that like taking your projects from a standing or a fallen tree to a finished product all on your own. Not a huge fan of taking my things off to get them done by someone else. However, for the challenge coin rack that I'm building right now, I do plan on going to a friend of mine to get some CNC work done. But I'm pretty excited about that project, and I'll be sure to share that coming soon to a YouTube near you. Anyway, just starting from the top, this setup is extremely quick and easy to build. Basically, you have one big bed for your workpiece to sit in, two rails for your router carriage and runners to ride on, and then some sort of an end piece to fix your router carriage in place. And that's really all it takes. The flatter the better, obviously, since you are trying to flatten your piece. So this is just a piece of 3/4 inch ply that I had left from another project, which was still relatively factory flat, other than a few small epoxy spills that I had to scrape off. The runners along the sides, or the rails along the sides, are melamine left over from another project that I cut just to fit these hickory cookies that I had. They were all unfinished, 3.5 to 4 inches tall. And they're finishing out to right about 2 or 2.5 inches once they're flat. And then the runners themselves, or the guides, are just leftover 3/4 inch ply, I think actually from the same sheet that the bed's built out of. The only thing I really had any money in this entire project was the router itself, which is a Skill 2.5 horsepower fixed and plunge base combo kit. I think it was $130 or so last year. The spoil board flattening bit I picked up off Amazon. I'll be sure to leave a link for that in the description below. That's a 2-inch 3-cutter head bit with the interchangeable carbide teeth. It makes it last a little bit longer, so it's a relatively cheap bit. I think it's about $55 or $60. With just interchangeable teeth. And then the base plate that I made to fit in there in the carriage, it's just a leftover piece of dry erase board. I think it's dry erase board on one side and chalkboard on the other, but that dry erase board really rides smoothly in the carriage. The one downside to this style setup is that it can tend to chatter a little bit vertically as you're moving across your workpiece. Just because it's not actually fixed to the carriage like one that's fixed to a bearing or a rail guide setup, which is why I'm actually going to be building my own linear rail guide setup here in the next few days because I've got some larger projects coming up. Other than that, I had just a couple dollars in the carriage bolts for the runners along the sides. Carriage bolts, washers, nuts, just the hardware for the ends. And I think that was the only real cost I had in this project. The angle iron was left over from a set of shelves we tore down a few years ago at my dad's old shop. But if you had to go to the store and pick those up, you might be in the angle iron here $15 or $20, just depending on where you live. On the inside of the runner, I did actually put a small piece of plexiglass. I think that's 1/8 inch plexiglass, just to help these runners ride a little bit smoother. If I was going to build this setup again, I would make these runners a little bit longer. These, as they sit, are 14 inches. I know because my measurement from the initial build is still written there. And if you made them longer, I believe, mechanically speaking, it would make them ride just a little bit smoother. Greater surface area and all. But overall, really quick and easy project to build. Once again, it was all out of leftover things I had in the shop, other than the new router and the carriage bolts I had to buy. Folds up really easily, or doesn't fold up, but cleans up really easily. Basically just pull the router off, lift the rail off the runners, and then the whole setup just hangs up on the wall. Just like that right there, hangs on a screw on the wall. And then when I'm ready to go back to building, I set it right back on the rails. And that is it. Once again, if you're like me and you like taking your projects from tree standing in the woods to a finished product, this is an absolutely necessary piece of kit to keep in your arsenal. And I'd be happy to help guide anybody along that has the idea. They want to build one themselves, but they're not sure how they want to go about it. And then I'll include a video for my linear rail guide setup that I'll be building in the next few days. Anyways, thanks for watching.